from Roseborough Travel Agency. Thank you all for joining us. First, I would like to start with a toast. Okay, so Jumbo, everyone. Jumbo's how you would say hello in Africa. And Caribou is welcome. So welcome today. And I want everybody to say, Mai Shamarei-fu. Very good. One more time, everybody together. 1, 2, 3. Cheers. Cheers to you. So welcome and thank you for coming to this amazing event. We have our wonderful vendors from Hurtigruten, from Princess Cruises, and from Salute Africa with us today. And we will all be talking to you about how to plan the most amazing adventure to Alaska or the Arctic or Antarctica or Africa or Galapagos, anywhere like that that is more of an expedition experience. So we have a few of you in the room today who have been on expeditions with us. Some have been to Africa. Who's been to Africa? Oh, I've got a few. And then I have our Galapagos explorers. How's it going? Oh, we have some more Galapagos explorers in the back too. And there are tons of other adventures. Has anybody been on a Arctic cruise or an Antarctic? Well, that's great because you're going to talk about it, Rolf. So before I bring Rolf up to the front from Hurtigruten, I would love for our Roseborough team to join me up here at the front so you can get a visual of who we are. It's not our whole team. Come on. No. Don't hide. Don't hide. So just because I have the amazing opportunity to do these presentations and introduce everybody, it is not me who runs the show, I promise. We have an amazing crew in our office. We have an awesome outside sales team force as well. So if you want to start over here at the end of the session. Sure. Well, you just told me. I'm Debbie. Debbie, and you've started in the office about a year ago.
Yes.
And have been on our team for how many years?
A little over 2 years.
2 years. So we love having Debbie. She's front desk in our office. We just moved around a little bit, but she's one of our front desk agents here to help you. And one of her trips will be talked about later in the presentation.
I'm Tiffany. I'm Samantha's business partner.
She pretty much runs the show. So Tiffany is right in front of our blue wall. She has been at Roseborough for how many years? 12 years. She absolutely loves speaking in public, and she's turning red without me even looking at her. And she, over the last 9 years, oh, so exciting. We are celebrating our life anniversary this week. So we bought the business 9 years ago, and our business, Roseborough Travel, has been around for 49 years. So huge celebration for us right now. If you come into the office this week, you'll see us dressed kind of extremely. Safari today, it fit the theme. But the rest of the week we will be doing some celebrations and dressing up a little bit crazy. So, so Tiffany and I bought the business 9 years ago. I keep jumping ahead.
Hello, I'm Alyssa. I'm the office assistant and usually the first person that you hear on the other end of the phone when you guys are calling in. So whoever transfers you to your agent, that's usually me.
And she does a lot more than that. She is the feet on the ground, the person who runs around like you don't even run around crazy. You just take care of things and
speed walk.
Yeah, she speed walks. So Alyssa has been an extraordinary improvement to our office, and we love to think that our team is amazing already, but she has been been a great addition to our team and has been so incredibly helpful. I know that she's worked with some of you in here, and we've gotten some really good feedback on her great customer service. And Rose.
Hello, I'm Rose Forbes, and I've been with Roseborough for 6 years, but you may not have seen me in the office because I was an outside agent for a while, but this is my first week as full-time in the office. So I'm very excited, and I'm also going to be working with our outside sales force to develop their sales efforts as well. So very excited for this new journey, and same fun travel, so.
Very good. So we have Rose. She started on Tuesday in the office, so we're super excited. She's got a wealth of knowledge, especially about Alaska as well, and tons of other destinations. But regarding this
I've been on
presentation,
65 cruises. I'm addicted.
she is addicted. Terry, would you like to say hi? We're just introducing the team. She was driving like 4 hours or something today.
Lauren's on her way. She's
So Terry is one of our outside agents, so she works from home and gets out into the community. She was at the Firecracker Festival with Rose this 4th of July when it poured, and has done several other downtown DeLand events. So if you see Roseborough travel out and about, she's probably one of the people that you see. And Brittany, behind the camera, every time I say this, I want you to turn that camera around and put your face in it. She said, not a chance. Brittany, how long have you been with us for?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. She came to us with a wealth of knowledge within the videography side of things. And I know it's not videography, film. You came from film, right? She probably is going to be like, Nita, why would you ever say that? And she does all of our e-newsletters, our social media, pretty much everything that you see online, our website, and a whole lot more. She does that in the office. So this is our team, and we all thank you. All right, so now that you know us, we want you to make sure that you know the vendors. The vendors that are presenting today, like I said, are Hurtigruten, Salute Africa, and Princess Cruises, okay? So we are going to start out with Rolf from Hurtigruten, and he's going to give you an amazing adventure that you can just fall in love with, especially in expedition travels. Come on up.
How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Good, excellent. My name's Rolf Logan, and it's a pleasure to be here. You guys are coming out from the local community to find out more about expeditions. That's fantastic. Been in the business for 30 years, so I've worked with the big cruise lines and the small cruise lines and the river cruise lines and kind of done the gamut. And for the last 13 years, I've been on the expedition side of things, which I do have to say is quite the adventure. There I am in Antarctica, and hopefully you will be there too. It's very interesting what's happening right now in the industry because, gosh, in the 70s, cruising was for the wealthy, and taking a cruise was a niche sort of a trip. But then the product is what it is. It's very popular. It's very satisfying as a customer. You get a lot of value for your money. So it grew quite a bit significantly all the way to like the 2000s. And then all of a sudden in 2000s, small ship cruising started to take off. And I would say not even adventure yet, but small ship cruising, which really is more or less, it's a small ship that needs no lines, more connection with the local culture, and more eating the local food too, because you can do it. It's destination focused as well, and that really started to take off like a rocket. So whether you like big ships, whether you like small ships, I'm glad to have you out here. It's a great economy. We're seeing a lot of growth. Our business, our expedition, our business is up 50% year over year in North America. 50%. There's a real graduation of people from maybe the vacations that they've taken into the past and then coming on, discovering expedition and I'll hope to convince you to take an expedition cruise with us. So, do we have a clicker today, or just hit the arrow?
No, we're gonna hit the arrow.
All right.
We're going old
That'll
school.
work. So, gosh, since 2016, we became the world leader in exploration travel in terms of total berth capacities in the market. So you can see that we're going all over the world, focusing mainly on Antarctica, Svalbard, which is the Arctic, Greenland and Iceland, Norway and Russia, Northwest Passage, North Central and South America, as well as Europe. We're covering the world, and our message is resonating with passengers. That's why it's happening. So here's a little bit more about us. There's a good line that we used to describe Hurtigruten in one sentence. And it was authentic voyages to pristine lands. I think that's a good way to sum up what we do. We avoid over-tourism and crowded ports. That's not our thing. This is our thing. Very cool. So why Hurtigruten? Why would you choose us? I'll tell you in so many words. First, legacy and sustainability. I think it's important to note that we've been doing voyages for 125 years, since 1893. This voyage started, you have a book on your table, The Norwegian Coastal Voyage. This voyage started in 1893, Captain Richard Whip. This voyage is 1,150 miles in distance, so it's like from here up to New York, you know, if you were to drive it. We sail it, it takes 7 days to go north, 6 nights, and then 6 days to come down, 5 nights, or 12 days round trip. There's the Arctic Circle right there. So you can see half of the voyage is above the Arctic Circle. How many people here have been above the Arctic Circle? Got one over here. Where'd you go, man?
Shoot, you have to ask,
Was it in Europe?
Koningsbad.
Oh, okay, Huntingsville. Yeah, we go there on this route. It's right up here. So we sail every day of the year round. And there's a reason for that. I don't think other cruise lines sail every day of the year round on one itinerary for 125 years, right? But there's a reason for that. It's because the voyage started to sustain the 34 communities that are settled along the coast of Norway. It just so happens that you're in the most beautiful scenery with 100 fjords. We sailed through over 100 fjords, okay? So it started in 1893 to connect the communities. It was settled on the coast of Norway because the Gulf Stream warms the coast of Norway. Temperatures on the coast are 10 degrees warmer than it would be inland. So that in the dead of winter, at the top of the Arctic Circle, the temperatures rival New York, Boston, or Washington, D.C. in the winter because of the Gulf Stream effect. So Norwegians settled the coast for that reason. Plus, what are they known for? What's the ancestry of Norwegians? Tell me.
Sailors.
Sailors, yeah, Vikings, right? And you know, it's a small country, 4 million people, so you know, you don't have to do too much genealogy to find out that you came from the Vikings. But anyway, so these communities were best connected because of the fjords and the landscape being so mountainous, and you can just look through this brochure, you'll understand that the best way to get from port to port is by ship, okay? So that's how the voyage started, to bring the local communities a means of transportation between communities, but also to sustain them. How would the 1/3 of the world's codfish comes from this area. How would the world get the codfish if Hurtigruten didn't pick it up from the factories and take it? So on most cruises, the entertainment's casinos, climbing up fake rock climbing walls, zip lining on the ship, things like that. With this, it's more of an authentic, real voyage with a purpose. And the purpose is to sustain the communities along the coast of Norway. So the entertainment, when you see a salmon factory unloaded and in Norway in 15 minutes and you see the catch of the day come out to the ship, it's thrilling. And it's real. And it's not contrived. And you're never going to feel like a tourist. You're on a voyage with a different purpose, and the purpose is to sustain the communities of Norway. So that's our legacy. That's where we come from. Now, up here you've got that ship right there. And that ship is called the MS Fram, and it was the first MS Fram. We're operating the 3rd MS Fram. Fram means forward in Norwegian, but this was Fridtjof Nansen, who actually built the ship with an egg-shaped hull, the first built like that, to freeze in the ice in Russia so that the pack ice would take him to discover the North Pole. That was his strategy. 3 years. He built it to freeze, him and his crew, so that in 3 years they knew there was a previous shipwreck, the USS Jeanette, that was sent up to try to discover the North Pole. It had been shipwrecked and frozen in Russia. It was found in Greenland. It crossed the North Pole. That was his plan. His plan went out the window in a year and a half. He tried to get there by dog sled. But he did go the farthest north of any person. Roald Amundsen, our namesake for our new ship that you'll learn more about later. So this is our heritage. This is what we're all about. So when you come with Hurtigruten, you can see it's developed from roots that are interesting. And we lead the world in sustainable travel. When you go on this voyage here, we don't have to freeze food because we stop at 34 ports and we source food from 200 farms. So when you buy your ticket on Hurtigruten, you're actually helping sustain the farms along the coast of Norway. And reciprocally, the farms bring you back every day food from the farms. That's what you eat on the ship. So you connect with the culture, you're eating the food of the culture. It's an amazing voyage. Lonely Planet called it the world's most beautiful voyage because of the 100 fjords. We're very proud of our footprint. Unfortunately, these are the beaches in Antarctica. And we're finding plastic and we're finding trash all over the place. That's our chairman cleaning up. We're very proud of our environmental responsibility. We've eliminated single-use plastics on the ship. We're the only cruise line to eliminate single-use plastics on the ship. Reason why? We're finding it all over the place. And it wasn't the chairman's idea. It was the employees of the company's idea to do it. We did it in 3 months. And we wonder why others won't follow suit. Because it's a good thing to do. If we don't do anything about it, there'll be more plastic in the ocean than fish by the year 2050. Because all the bottled water, everything, plastic doesn't go away. That's the beauty of the invention. This is Captain Kai. He's one of our captains. He typifies our captains. When you go on Hurtigruten, you're going off the beaten path. You're going to go in remote places where there's no hospital. We have a hospital on the ship. We have surgeon on the ship, but not where you're going. So it's important that you're going in these remote lands with an experienced captain. He had dinner with me once and he said, Rolf, one day in Antarctica, the sky was the same color blue as the ice, which was the same color blue as the water. In Antarctica, they have multi-year ice. Multi-year ice is transparent. The white ice you see is 1 year, single-year ice. It has bubbles. But in Antarctica, they have ice that you can't see. So it's important to go with a ship captain that only sails in that destination. When I went, our captain sailed there for 12 years. So you want to go safely, you want to go responsibly, and the reason you would choose Hurtigruten is because our captains are the safest and most experienced in these polar waters that we sail through. We're building new ships with science centers, new ships with photography workshops. It's important when you go to pristine lands that you come back with excellent photos, and we have workshops for that. We're building ships with infinity pools. They're going to be heated pools, of course, right? We're in the polar regions, but what an amazing facet. Indoor gyms if you want to work out, outdoor running tracks as well. So wellness centers and spas and saunas. We have an expedition team. They are, the way we operate, most ships, the captain is the law, okay? On our ships, the expedition team and the captain collaborate. In Norway, they have a mentality of equality. They've eliminated poverty. They're trying to flatten wealth. They're trying to create this idyllic society. So they're very open to collaboration in that way. Everybody's an equal is the way they look at things. So the expedition team, when I was on, there was an emperor penguin. Emperor penguin's 4 foot tall. It's rare on the coast of Antarctica. So they spotted it. They went to the captain. We had to alter our plan by 3 hours. That's okay, it's an expedition. What an expedition means is we know we're going to Antarctica. We're going to go for 12 days, but you know the plan's going to change. If we see wildlife in one, we're going to go find it. And that's what the expedition team does. Here they have rifles just because for protection in case a polar bear comes. But they land first, they spot, they look for wildlife, they make sure it's safe, and then you come onto the landing site. So included in your expedition, when we go to Antarctica, we include the boots that you need to walk on the ice and the snow. Antarctica is a desert, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. But we provide you with this shell, which is a great windproof, waterproof shell, which is important. You know, when I was in Antarctica, I wore a long sleeve sheet tee, a fleece, and that jacket. That was it. The temperature is always between 27 and 33 degrees in Antarctica. So you could stay. I mean, I had to take the jacket off sometimes because it is dry, it's a desert, so it's not as cold as a wet cold, if you know what I mean. We also include the landings and the hiking sticks too, and I saw you at the hiking stick. Great food experiences as well on board, and lectures. You're going to learn. We call it edutainment. You'll learn a little bit more about that later. But let's talk about Antarctica. Antarctica, now's the time to go, and here's why. The berth capacity for Hurtigruten's tripled since 2016. So if you went to Antarctica in 2016 or 2015, it probably was a higher priced voyage. But now that we're introducing new berth capacity, we've got a short, a medium, and a long trip. Prices come down, and it's a good time to go to Antarctica, okay? So when we go there, we focus on 3 different sites. Exploration history, like Ernest Shackleton here. We retrace his footsteps, point out the places that he went. So we're always looking for exploration history. Also, science centers, like here's the Polish Science Center, the Argentine Science Center, and known wildlife rookeries. That's where you're landing in Antarctica. So there's the peninsula, and you'll actually land. Now there's 3 categories of ships that you can take to Antarctica. One is a category 1, over 500 passengers. You can't land. You have to see through binoculars. We operate only category 2 and category 3 ships, which are 200 passenger, 500 passengers. So landing on the continent is a big part of what we do. The landings take place off of the side of the ship. I like it. So if you could walk down to the lowest level of a ship by yourself on your own, it's only 2 steps to get into these boats. So they're built for the market, you know, a mature market that may have had a hip operation or a knee operation or something like that, but it's easy to get in and out of. And that really opens the door. You can see there how easy it is to get on the Polar Circle boats on the MS Brown. But once you're landing, you're about an hour, hour and a half on the continent. There you can see the penguin rookery in the background there, a little stray one here. But they're not hunted, none of the animals, so they don't shy away from you. They come right up to you, actually. There's some, and now if you go in November, they're going to be mating like they are here in this picture. And they're going to be building nests, and they're the cutest things to watch. In December, they're sitting on the eggs. At the end of December, the eggs hatch, and you have baby chicks. So that would determine there's your little baby chick there. These are great photographs, right? I bought these photographs from the onboard photographer, $20-something on a flash drive. So that was a penguin that we saw. We had a bonus day in Antarctica. Our captain got us there early. The day that we went, there were some storms, but our captain knows what he's doing. He got us there a day early. The other cruise lines behind us were lost a day. So on that day, we saw the Adelie penguin too, and the gentoos, and the seals, lots of seals. And on South Georgia Island, you had the elephant seal and the king penguin as well. Thousands of penguins, tens of thousands of penguins. And then on a 200 passenger ship, you're landing twice a day. On a 500 passenger ship, you're landing once a day, but you're going ice cruising for the balance of the day. That's your afternoon or morning activity. So this is ice cruising. We get out in the ice. Much of the wildlife is there, right on the ice, so we get close and we take great pictures. That's the idea. This blew my mind. I never knew that the animals weren't hunted. I thought they were fearful of us, but when a whale came and swam up to us and came out and made eye contact with me, blew my mind. You're that close. You're that close. There's a little seal pup following us for the whole day, following us, and dolphins as well. This is Chilean fjords, but you can see how amazing an experience it is. Back a few years ago, you couldn't have this experience. We do snowshoeing as optional excursions, camping on the continent, as well as sea kayaking. Now, imagine in Antarctica, in the polar circle boat, you're this far from water, on a kayak. You're right there. It's a real amazing experience. So these are important experiences. This is what the customer wants, to get to undisturbed, pristine lands and to see it up close. So the MS Fram is our 200-passenger ship. It was built in 2007, and it does the ultimate Antarctica experience. This itinerary is 23 days. You start in Buenos Aires, you overnight, fly down to Ushuaia, board the ship, and then sail to the peninsula, over to South Georgia, and also the Falkland Islands, on really the ultimate excursion to Antarctica. The Roald Amundsen and the Fridtjof Nansen are the new ships that we're building. Ship of the future, you're going to learn more about that right now.
Right now, Hurtigruten is changing the world of expedition travel forever. We are building safer, greener, and more advanced expedition ships than ever created. I'm Karin Strand, Field Operations Manager at Hurtigruten, and I am excited to invite you to join us on board the world's first hybrid-powered expedition ships. This is MS Roald Amundsen and MS Fridtjof Nansen. Named to honor our Norwegian explorer heritage, each ship offers world-class comfort and impressive custom-built expedition equipment to explore some of the world's most spectacular places. Your Hurtigruten voyage will be led by a hand-picked expedition team. Highly experienced, passionate, and knowledgeable, the expedition team will be your guides and guardians on your voyage of exploration, advising you on science, sustainability, and safety. The core of the onboard experience is the Science Center, an edutainment venue where guests and crew meet to create a deeper understanding of the areas we explore. Learn, explore, and indulge with the latest in technology and equipment. Work on science stations, try navigation, listen to the sound of whales swimming by. Share mind-blowing underwater experiences through our fleet of underwater drones. Or just relax with a book in our library. MS Roald Amundsen and MS Fridtjof Nansen will feature a variety of expedition equipment, including kayaks and explorer boats for safe landings in remote areas. This, combined with our wide range of excursions, will enable you to delve deeper, come closer, and explore further than ever before. Hurtigruten offers journeys for all your senses. Our new ships will feature 3 exciting restaurants to choose from. Aune, the main dining experience, Fröland for social international flair, and Lindström, our specialty restaurant for those special occasions. The stunning scenery will be reflected in natural Scandinavian design and materials throughout the ship. All suites and cabins are outside, 50% have private balconies. Some suites feature private outdoor jacuzzis with spectacular views. These groundbreaking hybrid ships are world-class explorer vessels with a specially designed ice-strengthened hull and propellers for traversing ice. They feature the latest navigational and safety equipment, advanced green technology, heat recovery, hybrid propulsion, and battery packs. Throughout your journey, this will significantly reduce emissions. And imagine gliding through the landscape with no emissions at all. I invite you to join our pioneering heritage and sail with Hurtigruten on greener, safer, and more advanced expedition ships. Be a part of the next chapter in our more than 125 years of history of voyaging beyond the horizon, a history that led us where we are today, world leaders in exploration travel.
So, what do you think?
Looks amazing.
Yes, please.
That's the cruise industry's first ever hybrid electric powered cruise ship. We're going to be able to sail in Antarctica, zero emissions. We're going to use diesel engines that burn biogas, by the way. You know what biogas is? It's fuel made from organic waste. There was a headline in Europe that said, Hurtigruten powers ships with rotten fish. Because it's true. It's made from organic waste. So I think with a message that I'm trying to get across to you is that you've got a company with 125 years of experience who's very corporately responsible and also environmentally responsible. So, and I think that is really what we're all about. Now, I do want to tell you that you saw polar bears here. That's because we go to Svalbard in the Arctic. You know, Arctic comes from the Greek word, then Arctis, which means bear. Antarctica means no bear. So that's what the boat, that's what it means. So we could take you places with polar bears, with penguins. We could take you to Antarctica on a 12-day itinerary. That's pretty short. All the way up to a 23-day. And then we do Iceland, we do Greenland, we do the full Northwest Passage from Greenland to Alaska, all the way up through the top. So I thank you for listening to me today, and I'm going to stick around. I've been on these voyages. I've been with the company for over a decade. I can answer any specific questions that you've got, but it's time to move on and hear from our other presenters. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for him before he takes a step back? I have a question for you. But, yes.
Is there a season, a better season to go than another season?
In Norway?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well actually it's funny because summer has always been the season to go to Norway. It's the midnight sun, mild summer temperatures, 24-hour sunlight. But these days, because of the Northern Lights promise, we say, if you don't see the Northern Lights, we'll give you a free cruise next year. We're feeling the winter more than the summer, because Northern Lights is the #1 bucket list item in the world. So in the spring, you've got the snow melt, you've got waterfalls crashing, and you also have the harvest in the fall. So it's kind of like we're in the Northern Hemisphere, so similar seasons. But lately, these days, the winter product, the Northern Lights, is beating the summer in Norway.
So that's if you're interested in a Northern Lights cruise, which that was going to be my question. Can you talk about the guarantee?
Yeah.
Well, what about Arctic and Antarctica? What is the season?
Oh, the season? Okay, so the guarantee that we have, the Northern Lights promise, is listed in our book early on. But what it is if you take the 12-day voyage round trip and you don't see the Northern Lights, we give you a free half cruise next year, 6 or 7 day cruise next year to come back and see it. That's how confident we are. And last season, the season's October 1st to March 31st. Last season, there were only 2 days, 2 voyages that we didn't see the Northern Lights. Antarctica, the season is our winter is their summer. So we're not going to take you we're there when the temperatures go below 0. We'll take you during Antarctica's summer. And that would be November through February, mostly. And as I mentioned, November, the penguins building nests and mating, and then, by February, the chicks have grown up, they're molting. So that would be the season for that. In the Arctic, it would be the summer because it's the northern hemisphere. So Greenland, Iceland, and also Svalbard would be the summer, our summer, because they're in the northern hemisphere. Yes, ma'am?
I was just looking like day 6, there's about 6 or 7 ports here, but you only spend like 15 minutes in them.
Yeah, in some of the ports. In some of the ports, it's a quick stop. That's the part where we're picking up.
Why stop for 15 minutes?
Well, because you got to take the salmon to the market,
Okay.
or you got to bring the motorcycle shop their supplies, or you got to bring some locals to that fishing village.
I see.
So up there on day 6, you said, there's a lot of fishing villages, small, quaint fishing villages. So, and the stops are more like half hour in length. So you step off, you walk off, you talk to the locals, they come on and off, you take a walk, and then you go on. But the scenery, is breathtaking in between as well.
Okay.
Question back there?
Yeah, I wonder if you could explain to everybody exactly what a fjord is, because I think that there's maybe some confusion sometimes, people who don't know this region very well.
Yeah,
What's a fjord?
the fjords were carved by glaciers. So the landscape was literally gouged by glaciers, centuries, millenniums ago, that just carved out the ground. So that when you sail into a fjord, you've got mountains on this side, mountains on this side, and it's a waterway through an inland waterway. So a lot of the voyage is inland. If you look at the map, it's not in open waters. There's just 2 stretches where there's open waters. But those fjords are so majestic and hard to describe the experience, but I would say pristine and majestic would be some terms that come to mind, as it relates to the glaciers. And most other cruise lines will go to 4 or 5 fjords, but we do over 100 on this voyage. There's another hand back
You
there.
mentioned Alaska.
Yeah, I think our gentleman back here is going to speak about Alaska.
Oh, okay.
So I was going to talk about Alaska. You did talk about the voyage that goes from Greenland to Alaska.
Yeah, and we do Alaska.
Yeah.
But Princess is going to present their Alaska product. They've been around and doing this for a fantastic job for years. So.
That was the segue.
Yeah.
That was the segue.
Oh.
There you go. And on the next note, any other questions before we let Rolf sit down and take a break for a second? All right, wonderful. So
Thank you.
that was incredible. I have to tell you, many of you I've traveled with before, or I've worked with or met, and if you know me, the whole office will be like, all right, Amanda, not another. I plan trips for myself based on wildlife. So to go to the Arctic or Antarctica is incredible, and Hurtigruten has the most amazing product. Hang on a second, I'm using that.
Oh, you were? Sorry.
Yeah. So they have an incredible product. So Antarctica is absolutely one of those destinations that should go to the top of your hit list if you are into wildlife. So that being said, wildlife is, like I said, one of my favorite things to plan trips around. And I don't know. Let's see, hang on just a second. Is it plugged in?
Yeah, you are.
I don't know. Bruce! Sorry, Brittany. So wildlife is the reason that I plan trips. And I love to bring groups on trips that go and seek out the wildlife, because for me to see people experience, to see our passengers, to see our explorers experience the incredible wildlife around us is just amazing. So first, I'm going to talk about from the agent's perspective, when talking to clients and having them pick out their trip to Africa. When somebody calls and says, I want to go to Africa, mostly everybody goes, oh God, Amanda has to talk to them, because if not, she's just going to come up here and talk to my clients the whole time anyway. So I love Africa so much. It owns a piece of my heart, and I think that Everybody should go there. So I am going to talk to you today about some of the questions that people ask when planning their first trip to Africa. They've never been there before. What do I do? Where do I go? What do I see? And the main thing is wildlife. So of course wildlife is the reason that most of us want to go, and I don't know what I did again. Hang on. All right, but you have to know some things, and people always come up with questions about what do I do? What do I need to bring with me? This is a completely different experience. What I'm wearing today is what you will probably wear on a normal basis, and it depends on where you're going, South Africa, East Africa, whatever, but khaki colors, not very fashion forward. You are dressing for the climate and protection of the sun and protection of the tsetse flies, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But you typically will come and bring soft-sided luggage. That's because you are not in a bus with 50 people. You are in a game drive vehicle with about 8 people total maximum. So you bring soft-sided luggage so that your luggage can fit in that back seat or the trunk area of the game drive vehicle. And I always recommend a backpack. This is bright pink because this is more my personality. But I recommend a backpack because you can carry so much stuff and be hands-free. And even though you don't need it in the game drive vehicles, it's nice when you're walking through airports or getting on and off small bush flights and that sort of thing. So next up is, besides packing, sorry, I'm going to go back 1 second because I totally skipped over some stuff. If you go to East Africa and you are on short hopper bush flights, especially, primarily East Africa, you need to be lightweight. 44 pounds maximum, sometimes only 35 pounds. So you want everything that you purchase for that trip or that you pack in that luggage for that trip to be super lightweight. Like these are the wicking material shirts, lightweight. Deborah, you can attest to this. How much do you freak out before you hop on a bush flight and go, I have to be only 35 pounds or I have to be only 45 pounds and weight?
I lived overseas and I've traveled the world. It was the most stressful thing I've done.
Because you want to make sure you're not going to get denied boarding or have extra luggage costs, or just in general, they're small hopper planes, so you need to make sure you're not weighing down the flight. So what I like to do, because you're always going to have dirty clothes, but most of these camps have laundry service. I carry this dirty laundry bag, and it actually folds up like that, and then I can hang it wherever. So we end up, after day 3, we have one bag that is all dirty laundry, and one bag, because I travel with my family. So we have one bag that's only dirty laundry, and one bag that is clean clothes, because it's going to get stinky there otherwise. I mean, you are going places that you are out with dirt flying at you, and it's mostly dust, so it's not like that scary. One of the other things that, because of the dust, and I'm bringing this up, is I always travel with a scarf. The scarf is not for fashion. It is to cover my mouth when it's dusty out, or when the tsetse flies come after you. So East Africa is especially known for the tsetse flies, and if you've never known what one is before, Google it. It's a vampire, and it's a horrible, horrible animal, right? So Deborah and I were in the same game drive vehicle while we were going through Tangier National Park, and our roof was up, and you can stand up in these vehicles, you can enjoy, the whole experience, you can see the animals, the wildlife right in front of you. And we went through tsetse fly area. And how was that? Everybody, by the end, we probably have a picture on this slideshow. If not, it's definitely on our videos and on our Facebook. We were all covering up as much as humanly possible because they come and after you and attack. So that's not to scare you from going on the trip. It's just one of the things that you need to know before you go. Pack light colors. Tiffany, come on here, Tiffany. So we were dressing at like safari style today, and Tiffany came in blue, and she's like, I'm going to be the attractor of the tsetse fly. You on an African safari, or those teat flies will come after you. And who was it? Was it Debbie that was saying, if they come, it's because they can land on dark colors, and it's their camouflage. Where on light colors, they're not camouflage. These things are big, like horse flies, right? So you want to make sure you pack light colors, not royal blue and black, even though that's our Roseborough colors. You want to make sure to pack lightweight things. The other thing is, you are not going somewhere where CVS is everywhere around. There's no Dwayne Reeds, there's no anything like that. So you're going to pack yourself a little carry-on of any emergency medicines, anything else that would be important for you. I've got Dramamine in here, I have Repel wipes, I have all sorts of things. And ladies, primarily, the restrooms do not all come stocked with toilet paper. So flushable wipes are very important, okay? So that's just some packing tips. I like to bring Dramamine or Bonine for the flights, because even though I don't get seasick or sick on flights normally, those hopper flights are a little bit difficult for me. And the other thing that I like is packing cubes, because like I said, you've got the dirty laundry and the cleaning laundry, and packing cubes help you separate all of that. And last but not least, on your African adventure, besides your safari hat, if you don't do a scarf, you can get one of these things that are essentially, it's like a bandana, but you can put it over your head and you can just cover up like that, okay? That I'm sure looked amazing with my hair down. So, okay, so that is our packing tips. And if you were planning your next adventure and planning on going to Africa, we would be happy to share with you even more packing tips. Deborah, I'm going to put you on the spot, and I'm sorry, but I know that you are comfortable, at least with that. Is there anything else that maybe you wish that you would have brought or known before you went?
No, the packing list that you gave us, and I researched like 3 or 4 other sites of packing lists. It was difficult getting it down. Ours was 33 pounds for those small flights. And we did laundry a couple times. And believe it or not, I still came home with stuff I didn't use.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
I took way more mosquito repellent than I needed.
And they did provide them in the game drive vehicles and that sort of thing. Shoes is another thing. Just comfortable shoes. You're not walking on African safaris. You are in a game drive vehicle, but you do have some walking around like the camps to do and that sort of thing. So comfortable shoes, I like to bring, these are my safari shoes. They go up, you can see my Ireland socks, but they go up or down. You know, you have different things like that, but boots, shoes, anything like that, but remember it's warm there, so you want something breathable. Traveling with children, this is something that I do a couple times a year. So if you're planning to bring the kids or the grandchildren, if they're under 18 years old, you must have not only their passport, but their birth certificate and both parents that are on the birth certificate. If both parents who are on the birth certificate are not going on the trip, you must have a notarized letter that's documented saying that that child can go with you. So that's just traveling with kids 101. You have to have very specific things for them, requirements. And then traveling with a group versus independent. If you travel with a group, your price goes down, okay? Just in general, because you have a game drive vehicle for 8 passengers, and if there's only 2 of you who want to go, they can do private game vehicle experiences, private safaris, but then the price goes up. So traveling with a group actually ends up saving you money, and remember, there's only maximum 8 people in a game drive vehicle. So we do group trips with Roseborough, and we like to cap them at 20 people because it allows a little bit of room in the game drive vehicles and moving around, and it's a great size number of people. Wouldn't you agree that 20 people is perfect because you can kind of mix and mingle? So these are some pictures of us at Kilimanjaro. We said that we hiked Kilimanjaro, but that is a lie. I mean, we walked up like 20 feet. So, and then this is our balloon safari. Balloon safaris are incredible. And And our balloon driver, pilot, he brought us up, and I've been on hot air balloon. How many of you have been on hot air balloon rides before? Okay, so normally you go up and then you float up high, right? This safari pilot brought us up and then down where we skimmed the grass and got right alongside of the zebra running. And then we went up again, and then we went down again. It was incredible. I mean, it was truly
very
safari.
good looking.
Yeah. he was very good looking. Thank you for that. That is very true. All right, yellow fever vaccinations. This is something our group went through. Used to be, Americans did not need a yellow fever vaccination. Now, as of June 1st, I think of this year, to go between Kenya and Tanzania, you do need a yellow fever shot. There's one place in Central Florida that offers it, so if you were to be interested in going on a balloon safari, I'd be happy to help you with that and give you their information. But the East African safaris, you definitely need yellow fever. That's always a #1 question when people are planning trips to Africa. What kind of shots do I need? You also will want to bring malaria medicine, whether you go South Africa or East Africa. All right, accessibility and special needs. So my mom is in a wheelchair. She can walk a little bit, but she can't walk far distances. And her dream was always to go to Africa. So when my mom goes, I plan trips specifically for somebody in a wheelchair. Even though South Africa is proud to be wheelchair accessible and consider themselves accessible, they're not accessible from the perspective of ADA compliance right here in America. So we will work with you on very specific requirements if there's any accessibility needs. And I would be able to help you because I partner directly with Salute Africa to say, okay, this is what we need in terms of accessibility. Most safaris, there's not much walking. But I keep putting you on the spot, Deborah, I'm sorry. But in terms of physical movement, you get some African massages along the way, depending on where you're going, and that's essentially a drive in a game drive vehicle, and then the walk up the side of the plane. Bush flights hold 12 people, and you have to walk up the steep stairs. What else did you think anything else was?
If anybody had trouble walking on gravel and uneven surfaces,
Yeah.
you had to be very careful walking.
Very much so. That's especially East Africa. South Africa, not quite as much. But there is some accessibility things that we would need to work with. And then electricity, if you have breathing machines, anything like that, we just need to make sure that the tour company knows that in advance. And any dietary restrictions as well. Look, there we are. This is the picture we were talking about. There's Deborah. So we're covering ourselves up because those tsetse flies were coming in. And we have some walking sticks here. And even though we'll probably talk a little bit about Galapagos, John, do you mind if I put you on the spot really quick and say, how do walking sticks help? Will you kind of share, I know you haven't been to Africa with them, but why do you bring them?
Well, basically, the canes and the cane, especially this one, folds up very easily, so you can put it in your suitcase. If you use it, fine, great. If you don't use it, it's no big deal. It fits very easily in the suitcase because you have these buttons. These right here give you a little bit of stability, and it gets quite large. It helps you with walking. Once again, it goes into your suitcase because it folds up to this height, all right, which is nice. And again, it gives you a little stability, makes me feel a little more comfortable walking, all right, especially like Pompeii was a little uncomfortable with the cobblestones.
Yeah.
With these, I didn't have any trouble at all. And this is my favorite one, all right. This right here is a walking stick, and there's another piece that goes in here. It's very durable. I'm not a thin man. The screws go way in, which gives it more durability. It's not flimsy. And the advantage, like when we were in the Galapagos, is you have this tip, but you also, with the gravel that you were mentioning, you also have a little spike that will help you. I don't have any problems going up, but going down, I call it my brake. I can stick this in the ground and just go down little by little. And again, it fits into here, which again fits into the suitcase and very, very light. But it makes it a lot more enjoyable. Too many of my friends say, well, I'd like to do it, but I'm afraid I don't have the endurance. These help a great deal. They don't weigh much, they don't cost much. This sort of thing is Target. I think you can get it for $18. This right here is $34.
Where did you get that one?
Pardon me?
Where did you get that one?
This one?
Uh-huh.
Well, this particular one I ordered out of a medical catalog.
Okay.
I also got it from, I like it so much I bought another one. And I got that from Puerto Rico. There's a castle right where you dock on a cruise ship, right up there. And they were selling it, I think, for $34. Yeah, but very well worth it. Amanda was a great help on the Galapagos. It helped me a great deal because it was a little unstable. I have an ankle that doesn't move. As a matter of fact, I got a bad whole left leg. And it just makes traveling a lot more easy. I don't want to give up traveling. I'm not going to let that stop me.
You saw several people throughout the Galapagos, and in the picture I just showed, in Africa, if you're doing walks or hikes, you'll use those. Some, depending on I think even Rolf had some pictures with people with walking sticks and that sort of thing. Expedition travel, you'll see a lot of people with these walking sticks. And they're even good in just regular international travel cobblestones, as John was mentioning. So that's just one more thing to think about in terms of you can go if you can still walk well enough, but you want a little bit of stability. So that's just a little bit of extra help. But the big thing is people a lot of times will come to us and say, I want to go to Africa. Well, where in Africa do you want to go? East Africa? Do you want to go to Rwanda, Uganda? Do you want to go to Kenya, Tanzania? I don't know. I want to see animals. What animal is the most important for you to see? Do you want to see the gorilla? Do you want to go gorilla trekking? Do you want to go to see chimpanzees? Do you want to see the lions that hang out in the trees? Do you want to see a rhino? That was my big thing, a rhino. Do you want to see the Great Migration? What is it that you want to see? Or did you know that there's actually penguins in South Africa? So you need to know what it is that you want to see, and we're here to help you focus your experience around, the sites. Do you want to go to Table Mountain? Where is it that you want to go? So this is essentially a big old map of Africa. There's several countries in it, and we have the majority of people start out with a trip to South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe, or Zambia. Namibia is another option if you're interested in a more southern experience. It's easier to get to, it's easier on the body, it's an easier experience in terms of African travel. But you can also do East Africa, which is Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, or Tanzania as they call it themselves, and I was mind blown because I've always called it Tanzania my entire life. So you have different options up here with gorilla trekking and more safaris. Everything is safari, there's not city experiences really. So that is kind of an idea of how we can help you plan what type of African adventure it is. And then definitely plan it out. Have the experience, get it planned, get the itinerary you want, and we're here to help you with that. And then, so without further ado, we'll go ahead and call Bruce up. Bruce is with Salute Africa, and he's going to talk a little bit about our next best adventure, super exciting, to Africa. And Salute Africa is the company that we went with our first time going to South Africa, Botswana, and Zimbabwe. And we went to East Africa, Kenya, and Tanzania with them. And I have specialized and focused a lot of independent trips for clients, for some of our explorers that just want to go on their own trip and don't want to necessarily go with a group, but are going for retirement or a birthday or a very amazing experience. We use Salute Africa a lot for those type of trips. So Bruce, would you tell us a little bit about the next group and what we'll be doing?
No, I'm really not in the mood anymore. Well, good evening, everybody. How are you?
Good.
Well, that was fascinating. I'll tell you. You know, I'll be honest. I've done this since 1981. I was 6 when I started. I was a kid. I've done this a long time. I've been to 1 million presentations. I've given 1 million presentations. And a few things that I've noticed tonight. Rolf's presentation was fascinating. I have to admit, fascinating. Why? Because he does the one thing I love to see sales reps do. And it's what you're about to see when you see Ted talk about Alaska, because I've seen his Alaska presentation. And I will say it's what I try to do. Let's hope that happens. It's what I try to do. What I love to see a sales rep do is paint a picture, right? Because it's easy to talk about, we've got great ships and we've got beautiful cabins and, you know, the food's fabulous and all this, but you're not painting a picture about this experience. Why do you go to the Antarctic? It's not to sit on board ship for the next 12 days in your cabin. It's to see the things that he talked about. Why do you go to Alaska? It's to see the experiences that Ted will tell you about. Why do you go to East and South Africa? It's not to sit in the lodge in the hotel every day. It's to get outside and see those animals and meet those people and have those experiences that you cannot have in DeLand, Florida. Not even at the Disney parks. I do real fast. I represent a company also that does Israel, right? Which is the Holy Land. So I gave a presentation one day about the Holy Land, and a lady came up afterwards. She said, I just been there recently. It was fabulous. I said, you enjoyed it? She said, yeah, the guy that played Jesus was awesome. She was talking about the Holy Land experience in Orlando. And I said, no, we're the real one. This is where you actually go to Israel. Anyway, but I like to paint pictures, and so what we're going to do tonight is kind of talk about South Africa, East Africa, the destinations that we as a company go to. But I will say, you as clients of the agency, as potential clients, people that may be using Roseborough for the first time, using Roseborough for the 10th time, tonight is why you're here then. This is why you use and should be using travel agents. Because I can assure you, friends, that knowledge that this group has is unsurpassed in these destinations. That's why you want to use travel agents. This is not why the younger generation might figure, I can just Google a trip to Africa and I'm good to go. Well, it's all these little side notes, all these little side stories, all these important things to know about that trip that you're never going to know from a Google search, right? You're never going to know until you find out the hard way. I need a shot to go to East Africa? I didn't realize that. Google never told me. What do? You come to folks like this that know these destinations. So that was interesting. I have to admit, I wish somebody would have told me what to kind of plan for, what to pack for when I did my South Africa trip, because when it came to clothing, I can assure you I felt really foolish on that first day wearing a tuxedo and my wife in a ball gown. I mean, we just felt ridiculous. On day 2, bright red tank top, flip-flops, not a great idea. Day 3, we finally figured out we should be wearing clothes like a man. No, I'm just kidding. Those are all good ideas, though. That's all part of the trip, right? When you're planning this big trip to East and South Africa, it's the little things that we eventually start to think about. A year in advance, all we want to do is go to South Africa and see these animals. As that trip starts getting closer, then we really start thinking about the details of, okay, when we're actually there, what do we wear? What do we pack? Do I bring, which cane should I bring? What's going to be the best experience for me to see this big destination so I can really enjoy it? But it's folks like this that can provide those answers, because even if they don't know, that they call Rolf, they call Ted, they call me, and we get those answers for you. That's why you use travel agents, and that's why this is a good bunch. So anyway, so there's my little speech on that. But what I thought I would want to do tonight is kind of walk you through a couple of things. Amanda, you're planning your third or fourth trip?
It'll be my fourth trip.
Fourth trip, there we go. So she's already done with us, Salute Africa, over the past 3 years, 3 trips. They've all been wildly successful, each one bigger and better than the last, and a lot of the same folks coming back each time, because each time we go, we see another part of the continent. You know, she showed you the map of Africa. Africa is 80 countries. 80 countries. There's a lot of countries in Africa, right? We as a company, we do about 15 of them. So we don't even do the entire continent. We only do 15 of the 80, which is really East and South Africa. So every time Amanda comes back, then it's, let's find something new, a little different, right? How can we experience East and South Africa in a new way? So we're always trying to come up with something new for you guys and for Amanda. So I think you're coming up with what I've seen is going to be an amazing trip over the next few days. I've been watching the correspondence between Amanda and the owner of Salute Africa. She knows personally Victoria Weinstein, the owner of the company. They talk often, even by cell phone. So they communicate often, and they're in the midst of developing your next itinerary for next year. It's going to be a doozy. I've seen what it's going to look like. You're going to love it. So what you're going to do on that trip, it looks like, is South Africa. So that's going to be South Africa, which is a country, for one thing. It's not just a region, it's a country. South Africa, but in particular, that really means, in your case, Kruger National Park, which is kind of northeast South Africa, the northeast part of the country, and Cape Town, right? So there you go, which is at the very bottom of the country of South Africa. So you're kind of at one end or the other during your trip. So you're going to see Kruger, you're going to do National Park, you're going to see the city of Cape Town, which I'll show you some pictures, gorgeous, world class. You're going to do Botswana.
Chobe National Park,
My
that's a
personal
place in my heart.
Oh God,
Amanda,
And me too.
when is that? It'll be 2021.
have you guys chosen the date
We
yet, right?
didn't pick the date yet. We're working on the price right now, but it will be between July and September, sometime in that time frame in 2021.
And keeping in mind too that when we say July through September, what that means in South Africa is because they're below the equator, you know, their seasons are backwards, so it's you know, our summer, right? That's our summer. It's their winter. But keep in mind, this is a year-round destination, so winter in South Africa does not mean, you know, 15 degrees below zero and snow. You know, it's 75 degrees and gorgeous. So even when we go in July and August and September, so we're just looking at 3 different months, but that entire period is a gorgeous, beautiful time to be in South Africa. What date they eventually pick will be a wonderful choice, but it's going to be in their kind of winter, beginning of spring. Beautiful time to go. So you're going to do Kruger, you're going to do Cape Town, you're going to do Botswana, which is another country nearby, and you're also going to see Victoria Falls, and I think you're going to stay on the Zambia side, and we'll kind of see where Zambia and Victoria Falls play into all this. I'm also going to show you, though, just kind of along the way, other countries that we do offer, because quite frankly, maybe you've already been, or maybe you're going to see other parts of the continent that we offer that may be of interest. And you could say, you know, Amanda, we may not necessarily want to go on your trip, but I'd love to go and see this instead. So you're going to kind of get today kind of the bigger picture of some of the places that we go. So anyway, these folks, they're based in Johannesburg. This is what we do. They've done this for the past 26 years. You know Victoria, she's from South Africa. She's got a really cool South African accent. So she knows and loves this business. Nobody loves and knows more about East and South Africa than the owner of this company, Victoria Weinstein, who was her personal contact from day one. So they've been around for 26 years. Their specialty is this part of the world, and they really do a wonderful job. So I think in 3 groups now, we've had great success.
Yeah.
Lots and lots and lots of happy people. How many folks in the audience tonight, right now, have been with Amanda on some of these previous Africa trips? Anybody? So you have just one. Wow, we've got this entire group going then on your next trip. Wait a minute.
Some of them have been on other trips.
Okay. But not necessarily in Africa.
Maybe that's next.
All right, so here we go. So here, once again, is kind of our map. We're going to kind of begin with the country of South Africa itself. You can see it's flashing there at the bottom. So when you picture the big continent of Africa, you know, the country of South Africa is literally at the bottom of this big continent. So it's way down there. And kind of interestingly enough, when you're standing here in Cape Town behind the sign that says you're as far south as you can go on the continent of South Africa, your next stop is Rolf's headquarters, the Antarctic. 3,000 miles away, your next stop behind you is the Antarctic. So You can't get much further south on the continent than that. It's a great place to be. So anyways, we're going to kind of look at South Africa. Johannesburg is probably the airport you'll fly through, in and out of. It's like their big Atlanta, so it's just a popular spot for airplanes. But basically, Cape Town is down here, and Kruger National Park is up there. So that's more or less where you're headed as we go and do this. There we go. There's a great map. So we can see Kruger National Park, Limpopo, Mpumalanga. These are all national parks, game reserves up in northeast South Africa. So this is kind of in the northeastern portion of the country of South Africa. So you'll spend part of your time, we'll see some pictures in just a sec, but you'll spend part of your time in northeastern Africa from Kruger National Park, and then you'll spend part of your time in the city of Cape Town itself. Cape Town will blow your mind. Because I think what's kind of, to me, what was kind of interesting about my South Africa experience was I ended up getting the opportunity to see 3 very different things in one trip. Because in this one trip that Amanda's building, you're going to spend time at Sea Victoria Falls, which are world-class and gorgeous. You're going to see one of the most beautiful cities in the world, which is Cape Town. Very modern, very Western, English-speaking, beautiful. And then you're going to see the national parks. You go out and get your animal on, right? You see all those animals, and you go on your game drive. So this is kind of where you're headed. But this is a great picture of just Cape Town itself, the city of Cape Town. I mean, what a beautiful spot. I kind of, to me, when I was trying to figure out how do I describe Cape Town to someone that's never been, my explanation is I kind of describe Cape Town as a combination of San Francisco's hilly streets wrapped around Hawaii. It's the only thing that I could come up with that, to me, kind of described the feel of Cape Town. Because it's so beautiful, it's majestic, the mountains wrap around this gorgeous city. It's right literally at the end of, this is the end of the continent. I mean, this is the bottom of the African continent. But so it's a beautiful city. We typically stay right here at the waterfront, so it's the place to be, lots of shopping, big malls. The rand right now, the conversion between the rand and the US dollar is like 20-to-1, so shopping is fabulous. You're going to love that part of it. But we're staying right where you need to be, at the waterfront. It's the place to be, lots of beautiful hotels that we have. We see the big football stadium, Table Mountain in the background. It's in the middle of downtown Cape Town. It's right there. You can literally hit a golf ball at your hotel and, hit Table Mountain right there. It's right there in the middle of the city. The Lion's Head, which we'll see a picture of in just a second, Lion's Head Mountain. But Cape Town itself is just this beautiful world-class city with a lot to see and do, right? Very friendly, very safe, English speaking. And everybody in all these South African countries, when you're in Zambia, Victoria Falls, Botswana, everybody speaks English. Very friendly, very warm, very welcoming, right? You really felt safe when you were there on this trip. So I think you'll experience that real fast. So that was nice. But look at this. This is the middle of Cape Town. This is the city itself. But look at the backdrop. It's Table Mountain right behind you. What a day. My gosh, what a day. And you actually, what they do is they drive you up, and you'll do it when you go with us, but they drive up about halfway, and then you take a cable car from about the midpoint up to the top of Table Mountain. This is actually how you get to the top of that flat mountain. And once again, standing at the top of Table Mountain, 3,000 miles south, the Antarctica. So that's your view. Or you look north, and you see the beautiful city of Cape Town. What a day. What a day. Holy cow. So anyway, there we go. There's Lion's Head. Because when you see Lion's Head from the right spot, especially from the boats that we go on, then you actually see this mountain. It just has the shape of, it looks like a big sphinx or a big lion. It's amazing. So it's called Lion's Head Mountain, so it's gorgeous. But there, once again, is the city of Cape Town, kind of wrapped around this amazing mountain range. So it's great. Oh, there's the cable car, by the way. Green, lush, mountainous. And I have to say, what surprised me, I had no idea what to expect when I went to South Africa. No idea. I just knew that I'd be seeing lots of animals. Couldn't wait. But I didn't know anything else about South Africa, right? What I discovered too, when you're in, especially when you're in Cape Town, very lush, very green, very mountainous. I wasn't expecting that. What I was kind of imagining all of Africa to be is just like, the game preserves, the bush, right? The shrubs, desert-like. That's kind of what I'm trying. That's kind of what I was imagining it to be. And what you discover the moment you arrive is, gee, this is not what I was imagining. This is beautiful. It looks like Hawaii. It's gorgeous. So anyway, there's the cable car once again. That's going to take you up to the top of Table Mountain. There's our penguins. So like they talk about, even though the Antarctic, has its share of the penguins, and they've got more than we do. But South Africa's got its own penguin colonies. And we actually, one of our days, we very often take our folks, we drive up the coast, we go to Betty Bay, and we go and see the penguins, and they're beautiful, and they walk around in little tuxedos, and, you know, and we kind of literally walk through the middle of the penguin colony. There's thousands. What I discovered about the penguin, which surprised me too, I didn't know, they really stink to high heaven. I have to I didn't expect it because they're so cute. I wanted to bring one home in my pocket until I smelled them. I guess they love sardines, of course, right? They're eating fish all day. And man, they really smell. So that surprised me. Loved it, but that surprised me, but there they are. So we go see the South African penguins. They're as cute as can be. That's awesome. Here we go. This is the Cape of Good Hope. This is as far south as you can go on the continent. So what do we all do? We all stand behind that sign that says we're as far south on the continent of Africa as we can go. Take my picture and stick it on Facebook. Right? That's what we're doing. That's what we have to do. What we did, though, we saw a bus with about 30 Chinese people pull in. So we made sure we ran up behind that sign for that bus, that group of 30 guys. Because I didn't want to wait behind 30 people. So we ran up and cut in front of them. So we got our picture taken. Indian Ocean, Atlantic Ocean. Right? There you go. There's where the two oceans kind of officially meet, right here at the bottom of the continent. Indian Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, right there. 3,000 miles later, the Antarctica. So while you're there, just stuff that a man has done in the past, we could do for you if you'd like. You know, we have whale watching. That's a popular thing for lots of folks. Shark diving for the adventurous. Do you guys do shark diving yet?
No, I wanted to.
There you go.
It might be next time.
You have it, you want to?
I want to.
Now you're talking. But we do it. So Cape Town is really famous for its shark diving. So of course you're hopefully inside the cage, not necessarily outside the cage, but nevertheless. We do offer cage here, shark driving. The sardine run's a famous thing. You know, I didn't know South Africa had golf courses. Who would have thunk it? Right? But they do. They're world-class golf courses in South Africa. So if you're a golfer, it looks like we're in the middle of a nice golf course right here. Well, they've got beautiful golf courses in South Africa. In fact, the owner, Victoria, her husband, big golfers. So they know every owner of every golf course. So that's even better. So that helps you get in. The wineries, are you guys going to do the wineries when you go?
It's going to be an optional.
Yeah, so there you go. So she's going to offer a day tour probably for you guys, because only 30 minutes away from Cape Town, 30 minutes away by car, is an area that the South Africans call the winelands. The winelands. Picture it as being their Tuscany. That's the only way to explain it. It's their Tuscany. It's their Rhine Valley. It's their Napa Valley. It is beautiful. Rolling hills, 4,000 vineyards, wine tastings, wine pairings. It is magnificent, gorgeous, and beautiful. 30 minutes away from Cape Town. So we usually offer that as a day tour, so that's going to be something you guys can do while you're there.
The wine and food pairings are so incredible. It's not even funny. Like, the food even is spectacular. So that was a big hit for everyone. Even if they weren't winos, the food was great. My husband doesn't drink at all, so I get all of his wine, but the food, he took mine.
Did you say winos or rhinos?
Winos!
You never know. Down there, it could be either one. You never know. It's the rhinos that are booze hounds. That's the one you got to worry about. Anyway, I'm not going to go through all these, but we just have lots and lots of hotels that we work with in Cape Town, for example. Just kind of give you an idea of what the properties look like. You know, you're not roughing it. This is no Boy Scout stuff. I mean, these are beautiful hotels and resorts and lodges that we use throughout this tour. So you're staying in world-class properties, and these are just some of the. That was my snapshot. No, I'm just kidding. So these are just beautiful properties that we have access to while we're, you know, in Cape Town, for example. So the hotels are modern, they're gorgeous, they're Western. They're just beautiful. Yeah, there's the top deck of that particular. We use the Radisson Blue actually very often. Have you guys ever done the Rovus Rail? You haven't done a trip yet with Rovus Rail. This might be something worth throwing in at one of your future trips. Mainly because Rovus Rail, which is really a six-star train experience. They have from 2 days to 17 days on the train. So that's something really people, of course, find very interesting. You actually get on board the train, and you can see you're really living large at this point. You're on the train, and you're traveling now by train for a couple of days, minimum 2 days, maximum 17. So, but you're on this six-star train experience. It's just magnificent. So maybe something fun to throw in one time.
Absolutely.
Because it's very different. But boy, what an experience to be on the train, and then you get on the train, it's like a ship. You get on the train, unpack for a couple of days, and you got your cabin and your sleeper cabin, and look at this, the lounge, and really beautiful. Anyway, so here we go. So there's the garden route, that's something nearby, but I like this picture more because I think it kind of shows the scenery of South Africa, just how beautiful it is. but this starts really becoming what draws us there in the first place. One way or another, I want to see lots of animals, and that I can assure you, you will. So here's just a great picture. There's some of the Jeeps that we use. Amanda talked about, you know, they max out at 8 people. So you're not going to be in a bus with 30 people. Even if there's 20 people in Amanda's group, you're going to have 3 Jeeps and about 8 people per Jeep, right? 6 to 8 people per Jeep. So you know you're not going to be overcrowded. You're going to have a small Jeep just like this, and what a great way to see. And you've got your driver and your guide. You know, the driver is the driver. The guide, though, is the one that's really telling you all about what you're about to see and do. Like I say, your trip's going to include Kruger, and that's going to be up in the northeast portion of the country of South Africa. But what I'm going to show you here really just kind of gives you an idea, once again, where are we staying once we're in the national park, right? Where are we staying when we go on safari? Are we staying in a camp that I'm going to have to rough it and, you know, not like? No, these are magnificent, beautiful. I mean, look at this. These are the camps that we use in Kruger. These are magnificent 5-star facilities. They're beautiful. World-class chefs, magnificent lodges. You know, everyone has their own, they're all, you know, fully equipped. I mean, these are, look at, there's the bathroom in the back. These are gorgeous, gorgeous facilities that we use. And we've done Sabi Sabi's probably the most popular. It's well known, it's really famous. Kapama. So we've got all kinds of properties that we'll eventually use, you know, and pick for, you know, Amanda's group. And you can see each one is beautiful and exotic and gorgeous. And there's the tub. And look at the view. You're sitting in your tub. Look outside that window. You know, I mean, that's amazing. That's why you're there, because I can assure you, as you're eventually sitting there, that's your ass going to walk up and watch you take a bath. So it's going to be an amazing day, right? I guarantee that'll happen. Guarantee it'll happen. All right, so there we go. So we just talked about South Africa, which is the big green part. I'm not going to get into this, but this is another country called Lesotho. It's in the middle of South Africa, but they're kind of famous for, really probably most famous for their mountain range, the Drakensberg Mountains, which is inside the little tiny country of Lesotho. So that's just another place that we go. There's South Africa, there's Lesotho, another tiny little country inside South Africa. These are small countries within a country. So you've got the big country of South Africa itself, right? And then inside South Africa, you've got 2 more small countries, Lesotho and Swaziland. So these are other countries, other places that we can take folks to. But look at the scenery, look at this picture. I mean, this is not desert, this is not the bush, this is not scrublands. I mean, these are magnificent, beautiful mountains, green, lush, gorgeous, tiny little, very friendly countries. So anyway, so these are just a couple of other destinations that we can take folks to when they want to come back and just see something new. So maybe one day your trip will include Lesotho and Swaziland, because they're places you haven't been yet, but they're gorgeous. So anyway, so that's kind of cool things. All right, so now she talked about Namibia. Namibia is another country that when you kind of look at the map there flashing, it's on the west side of Africa, a big country, but really well known for stuff like this. You know, they have the world's largest elephants in the country of Namibia. It's a desert country. The entire country, really, for the most part, is 2 big deserts, one of which is a Sossusvlei, and we'll see a picture of that in just a second. So the world's largest elephants live in Namibia. They've got the Skeleton Coast, which is actually where the elephants end up coming down to the shoreline and eventually dying on the shoreline. So what we see on the shoreline is this, because it's where this event, this phenomenon seems to happen. And actually the elephants eventually make their way to the coast of Namibia. They're on the west coast and eventually die. But they're also known for their lions that feed on the wildlife. So nowhere else in the world does this happen but Namibia. So fascinating country, really interesting. Certainly parts of it that no other part of South Africa can offer. Lots and lots of elephants. Huge. Here's a picture of the Sossusvlei deserts. And based on the sunshine, I was going to show you the color there. Based on the sunshine, it's either bright red or dark red. So the colors change as the sun's rays and set. So it's kind of fascinating. Once again, lots of national parks inside Namibia. We move over to Botswana, which will be part of your trip. And that's certainly your favorite, one of my favorites. Because what I really, really loved about Botswana, it's even different than Kruger. Kruger is going to be, while you're in Kruger, you're generally going to be doing 2 game drives a day. One in the morning, right, getting in the Jeep and going out for the morning, and then going out later on that afternoon, before dusk, before dark. So you're doing 2 game drives a day, one in the morning, one in the evening, in the Jeeps. Awesome, lots and lots and lots of animals. But what I really, really loved about Botswana was it does offer something that really none of the other national parks seem to offer, is they offer land safaris. So you're in the Jeep and you're driving through the park, Chobe, seeing the animals like you did at Kruger. But while you're in Botswana, especially in Chobe National Park, Chobe has a big river that runs through the middle of the country. So there we get you'll see a picture. There we get the opportunity to do water safaris. For me personally, that was just my favorite.
It was incredible.
I loved it. I really love that part. You'll see why. Because you're going to see lots and lots and lots of wildlife while you're there. But there's a big, huge desert inside this country. So there's a big desert. They also have the Okavango Delta. I don't think we're going to include the Delta in their trip because it's tough to get to and it's
Difficult for
challenging.
people with walking issues.
Just wasn't really a great spot for folks that may have some mobility issues because the Okavango Delta, what that really is like, to me, I kind of describe that as their Everglades. Really. Picture the Everglades, right, which is 3 feet of mush and water, for thousands of acres. That's kind of what the Okavango Delta, that's how I would describe the two, to kind of give you an instant feel for what are we talking about when we say the Okavango Delta. Well, the Delta really is this, it's their Everglades. So we do offer tours over there, but it's tricky, it's hard to get to, and it's not really great for, handicapped folks. But Chobe National Park, which is where you're going to be, amazing, fabulous. And so you're going to see this, though. This is what I really love about it is you're in boats like that, so you're sailing up and down the Chobe River, and you're looking for all the animals that come down to the shoreline for water. But you're also going to see, like we did, herds of 40, 50 herds of elephant swimming across the Chobe River like these guys, right in front of you. We're on our boat, we watched a herd of 50 decide they were going to cross the Chobe River right in front of us, so we stopped the boat, turned off the engines, peaceful, quiet, and we watched that herd of 50 swim across the Chobe River right in front of us. I mean, they were as close as Tiffany, right there. What an amazing, that's why we go, right? That's why we go to the Antarctic. That's why we go to South Africa. That's why we go to Alaska. Because at the end of the day, I want that experience. That's why I'm there. I want to go. I want to see and touch and do these things. I can assure you, that will be part of your trip. So for me personally, when it's all said and done, when I look at my trip, that's what I remember most. I love that part of the trip. Here's the Okavango Delta. When I see the Everglades, look at that picture. Tell me that doesn't look like our Everglades. It's exactly what it looks
You
like.
actually canoe through there.
They do. Actually, I've got, there's the canoes right there. I've got these. They've got canoes. They've also got what they call makoros, which is more like a dugout canoe. So there's a couple of different ways for folks to see the Okavango Delta. Because there's no roads, I mean, it's like the Everglades, right? We would do it by airboat. Well, they go old school, right? They use dugout canoes, I mean, it's kind of old school. But man, one way to see it is it's quiet, it's peaceful, and there's 2 of you per canoe, or 2 of you per, dugout. Look at all those hippopotamus, man. Isn't that amazing? So that's going to be over in the, Okavango Delta. So Zimbabwe is going to be another country nearby. Most folks, when it's all said and done, the reason you end up in either Zambia or Zimbabwe, you're going to Zambia. Both Zambia and Zimbabwe border Victoria Falls. Victoria Falls and the Zambezi River's in the middle, Zambia one side, Zimbabwe on the other. So we're going to be in one of the two. In your case, you're going to Zambia. When I went, we went to Zambia. We could see Zimbabwe across the river. It's right there, close by. So anyway, but this is either way, that's why you're there. It's to see the falls. They're magnificent, majestic, huge. Everywhere you look, you're doing this kind of walking tour through the park and eventually seeing this. Everywhere you look, another rainbow. Rainbows everywhere, everywhere you look. The water rushing down, the roar of the river, the mist coming up. Unbelievable. So, this is why you end up going to Zambia, Zimbabwe. It's to really get the opportunity, quite frankly, to see Victoria Falls, because it is amazing. It's actually about twice the height of Niagara. So it's a big fall. My tip here would be, like she was giving you tips on what to pack and bring this and bring that. My tip here is be careful, because the baboons will steal your camera. Just as a guide, just as a tip, keep that in mind. They will swipe your camera, so be careful. But man, look at all the fun stuff you can do for the adventurers. You can do weren't you going to do hang gliding in Cape Town?
Yes,
you couldn't pull it off.
but there's
no license.
paragliding you can do still.
Yeah.
In 2021 might be
True.
good.
So anyway, this is just some of the stuff that people do that you could do while you're with us for those couple of days up at Victoria Falls. because you're probably going to have 2 or 3 or 4 hours open. I don't know what the schedule will be, but you'll probably have a little bit of free time where you can go and do stuff like this. So it may not be hang gliding. Well, that wouldn't necessarily be me. My dad would have done that. I mean, helicopter rides, that's popular. You're going to see helicopters zooming all over Victoria Falls. So you're going to see helicopter rides as being stuff you can do. But there, once again, is the falls. So you can get an idea of what this thing looks like. There's a rainbow, in fact. Are you guys going to do one of the culture tours? Didn't you say you're going to see some of the kids maybe?
Oh, always.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
we like to do the
There
orphanage
you go.
or the schools. We like to have that experience, and it's really life-changing.
Yeah, so on your trip, once again, she'll include something like that, so when you get a chance to go, you really, and the fun thing about that is, I think for people is, it really gives us a different appreciation for people, right, for culture, and their history, and their lifestyle. Because you're getting the chance to actually meet locals, right? You're not just talking to the bartender behind the bar at Cape Town. You're talking to real people that actually live in these places and countries and cities and villages, discovering they're very nice, they're very interested in us, they love to talk to us. It's just so much different than we usually expect it to be. So that's going to be a fun part of your trip too, stuff like that. But while you're there, while you're at Victoria Falls for those couple of days, you're going to do stuff like this. Like, you know, here we see ride the elephants. When I went, we rode the elephants. You know, my wife's a lot more adventurous than I was. When I rode the elephants, I wanted to make sure I was on this guy so I could make sure I could touch the ground. So I was kind of nervous about it. But my wife, naturally, being the crazy one, she's waiting for the biggest elephant they had. And we saw one kind of there, right? They had a bunch of elephants. There was a huge one. And she's kind of milling about. I'm watching her do all this, right? She's kind of milling about, not getting in line. She's waiting for them to bring that biggest elephant that they had eventually up to the line because he was the last one. And that's when she got on the tower and climbed aboard. So, but I was on that little baby one, and he was cute as could be. I named him Bruce. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, you can do stuff like elephant rides. So that's a lot of fun. There's a lot of national parks in Botswana. You're going to be in Chobe, but there's actually quite a few. There's a lot of different parks in Zambia, Zimbabwe. There's all parks all over the place. So we just saw Zimbabwe. Now we're going to see Zambia, which is actually where you're going to be. Your trip. But the whole deal is the Victoria Falls basically is about right there. I mean, that's just probably the simplest way to paint this picture. So here's kind of interesting. You're actually going to be, when it's all said and done, right about there. Right at the border of 3 countries, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Botswana. That's why we include Botswana on this trip, because it's only an hour and a half drive from Victoria Falls to Botswana. Hour and a half. Because all of it's actually right there. So when you kind of break all this down, that's actually where you're headed. So you're going to be in Zambia then for a couple of days, but here's Victoria Falls, once again, which is where you're going to be for those couple of days doing all that fun stuff. Elephant rides. There's another picture of the falls. We have this, see the train? There's an evening train. Have you guys ever done the evening train, the dinner train?
No.
We need to throw that in too sometime. So there's a train. It's very colonial. It's like stepping back into the 1850s. There's a train that runs out there, and they do an evening sunset cruise, dinner cruise. So they actually park the train cars on that train trestle at sunset, and you have dinner. Wow, what an amazing way to have dinner, right? You're sitting literally at the footsteps of Victoria Falls on this magnificent 1850s train, having a big dinner. They park that train right on that trestle. Wow, so beautiful. And like I say, that side over there, in fact, these are some of the resorts. That side is Zambia. This side, Zimbabwe. That shows you how close they are. Right next to each other. We're almost there. So anyway, so you're going to spend a couple of days here because once again, you're doing Victoria Falls, but you're also going to do stuff like you've done, which was walk with the lions. I saw your picture of you and the lion. You're petting him. Right? He's cute as could be. So you can walk with the lions, walk with the cheetahs. You can do stuff like that. That's a lot of fun. You did Devil's Pool. I've got that picture of you guys literally sitting right here at the edge of Devil's Pool. That's at the end of Victoria's Fall. That's the last thing you see before you go over.
We had an 80-year-old client with us
There you
that
go.
went and did that. It was incredible.
There you
And
go.
we were all scared to death. But it was incredible when you did it.
But you all survived it and took great pictures.
Absolutely.
So anyway, so this is what they call Devil's Pool, the Devil's Pool. And this is a day tour that we do, and we take folks, and you literally, just like she does, you jump in and swim around, and literally sit on the edge of Victoria's Falls. We're going to include the Zambezi River Cruise. That to me was a lot of fun too, because what I loved about that was You're on this big boat, it carries, I don't know, 300 or 400 people, music and free booze and all that stuff. But the neat thing was, you're sailing up and down the river, looking for animals once again. But what we saw in the Zambezi River, and the Zambezi feeds Victoria Falls, right? That's the river that feeds the falls. You're on this big boat, and what I found interesting was the amount of hippopotamus. Because I've always been a big fan of the hippo for some reason. I think they're cute as could be. They're actually the deadliest animal in Africa. But doggone, they're cute as could be, right? They really are. So you're on this big boat sailing up and down the river, and you start seeing just hundreds and hundreds of hippopotamus. What surprised me about them was how big they are. I'd never seen one except TV. They're as big as an SUV. I mean, they're massive, right? So just to be on this boat and look down and see hippopotamus as big as an SUV, 10 feet away, man, what a day, right? You just don't forget that stuff. That's why there's fishing available there. Once again, there's the train trestle. There's the train right there. They park that train right on the trestle, and you have a nice, beautiful dinner. Helicopter rides, once again, from your side. You're going to leave on Zambia, so you can do helicopter rides. So there we go. So that's kind of our trip. We're at it. Yeah, so there we go. So that kind of gives you an idea then of what South Africa looks like, and especially the countries that you'll be seeing while you go with the map. Any quick questions? It's Ted's turn. So as they say, I guess it's TED Talk, right? Isn't it TED Talk? On podcast, it's TED Talk. So TED Talk there.
So something that I want to bring up very quickly while Bruce is here is we will be going to South Africa, as he discussed, Botswana and Zambia. If you are one of those people who likes to get the extra stamps in your passport, you have the ability to take a day trip into Zimbabwe, and you have the ability to take a day trip into Namibia. So you can actually cover 5 countries on that trip. And even though it's not published yet, because we're working on pricing and dates right now, last time we put a trip out for East Africa, and it sold out before we actually even got the flyers printed. So if you are interested in doing this trip, please let us know, because we will contact you, the first people to sign up before we publish the flyer to anybody else.
you an email.
Oh, okay. So we did. We sold out the last time before ever needing to publish a trip, and because we maxed it at 20 passengers, it's a really nice itinerary and trip and experience. So, yes.
Ballpark price?
Ballpark price, we're going to look at just below $7,000, probably $6,500.
Not including air?
Not including air except for internal flights. All of the internal flights are included, and it's got all of the game drives, most meals except in South Africa. Because when you're on safari, meals are full board, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay?
The dates?
The dates we don't have yet. We're looking between, it's 2021. We're looking between July and September, July, August, September, somewhere between that time frame, 2021. And we will have that finalized. I literally just emailed Victoria back the other day, or today, before this event, and told her, pick us the most affordable dates that are good. That's a really good time for it to go. So pick us the most affordable dates that we can get in.
Why are you not doing it in 2020?
We just came back from East Africa a couple months ago, and we have a full list of group trips going in 2020. So we're doing it in 2021, and that pre-planning, people need the time to digest and plan and to go on an African safari a lot of times. So we're just putting it out. Yeah.
How many days is it?
It's 11 days. Yeah. 12 with travel. Yeah.
But if someone wants to go in 2020, they still get it.
Absolutely, absolutely. We do a ton of customized tours for individuals that you can go anytime you want.
Right.
But the group is going 2021. All right, and Ted, Alaska, we have another group.
Yeah.
And Debbie's going on that.
Debbie, nice.
So you hear Debbie's name.
All right, Debbie.
Okay. So, thank you, Ted.
Thank you. All right. It's not very often that I could say Alaska is probably the most boring thing we're going to talk about today. But I am awed by some of this opportunity. Land of Midnight Sun, where my family heritage is from, Africa, where we've always wanted to go. If you've ever thought about going to Alaska, I'm just going to take the next couple hours just to talk about it.
It's a good place.
And I want you to know there's not, you're going to hate me by the time we're done. because we don't have any mosquitoes in the state of Alaska. We refer to them as the state bird. And the first time you see one, you're going to want to put a saddle on that sucker because it's going to try and carry you away. So, having said that, let me introduce you to one of my favorite places in the world. For those of you who'd like to follow along, class, if you'd like to turn your textbooks, your textbooks to page 27. I'm going to kind of use the brochure, and we're going to kind of get this if you're interested in learning about Alaska. We're talking about a land that's 2,400 miles long by 1,400 miles wide. If you put it in the continental United States, it would go from Charleston, South Carolina, to Minneapolis, St. Paul, to Long Beach, California. Did I say page 27? So think about that, from Charleston, South Carolina, to Minneapolis, St. Paul, to Long Beach, California. That is the size of the state of Alaska. And yet, more people live in Seminole County than the entire state of Alaska. Think about that. It's a land of 10,000 rivers and over 3 million lakes. 10 times more caribou than people. It is a massive amount of land with a minimum amount of infrastructure. And that's why it's so important that when you decide to go to Alaska, that you talk to an expert so that you can create your perfect Alaska vacation. It is a massive amount of land. Imagine Denali National Park, it's almost the size of the state of Georgia. Yet you can't drive in it, you have to take an organized tour to get back into it. And all these things I mentioned to you because it's really, really, really important to understand this. You know, I'm not sure when's the best time to go, what do I wear, where do things go. We're going to talk about that in the next 10 or 15 minutes or so. We're going to kind of cover as much as I can. The good news is, Debbie's escorting a group up there next fall and the next August. And we'll talk about seasonality and everything in just a second. So as we look at this map, right, I want to kind of cover two different things. First, we're going to talk about cruises. And then we're going to talk about tours, land tours added to the cruise. So there are two types of cruises in Alaska. Bless you. One is called the Inside Passage Cruise, and this is true with any cruise line. It doesn't matter whether we originate out of Seattle or Vancouver. They go up to a certain point and they come back. They generally range between 7 and 10 days. And they're okay, but I don't necessarily recommend them from us here in Florida because we're not going to see everything we think we're going to see in an Alaska cruise. What I would recommend are the cruises that go Vancouver to Anchorage or Anchorage to Vancouver. They're 7 days. But the cruises are dramatically different. On the Inside Passage, your mountains are about 5,500 feet tall. On the Gulf, they're 14,500 feet tall. Your glaciers on the Inside Passage are about 55 to 60 feet tall. Glacier Bay and Prince William Sound are between 600 and 700 feet tall. But to find the wildlife in Alaska, you've got to find their food source. Find the food and you'll find the wildlife. It is as critical as that. Tonight we'll talk about that a little bit to kind of give you an idea of where to find the wildlife in Alaska. And 80% of your aquatic wildlife lives between Glacier Bay and Prince William Sound, College Fjord. So when you look on that map, look outside of Skagway, you're going to see Glacier Bay and Prince William Sound, College Fjord. This is where the animals live. Now, to talk about the cruises, if I was you and I was just going to take a cruise, I would fly from here to Anchorage and go in a day or two early. From there, the morning of your cruise, you could take a motor coach or a train down to the pier. There's a really cool cruise called the 26 Glacier Cruise, which goes out, it's like a day cruise. It goes back into Prince William Sound, College Fjord. Whales, seals, sea lions, calving. It's one of the most active calving areas in all of Alaska. You're going to see back in Prince William Sound where the ships can't get to. It is an incredible experience. You're going to spend a day looking at the wildlife and the sights and sounds of Alaska. You come back in at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, you walk right across the pier, and there's your princess ship. You board your ship, leaves about 9 o'clock at night and starts your sailing southbound. So it's just a really cool way to go. When we talk about Alaska, there's 3 different seasons and they are dynamically different from each other. Springtime in Alaska is mid-May to mid-June. That's springtime. Springtime is snow-capped mountains. Flowers are blooming, trees are blossoming. When you look at these pictures, for example, here on this page, page 27, kind of looks like springtime, right? It's the driest time of the year. It's the best opportunity to see the mountain. The trade-off is the salmon haven't come to the rivers yet. So since the salmon haven't come to the rivers, the bears and the eagles have not congregated down to the mountain, the riverside. So it's hard to find the wildlife in May and June. The scenery is beautiful. However, it's hard to find the wildlife because the food's not focused yet. Peak season's from the 3rd week of June to the 3rd week of August. That's the most expensive time to be up there. It's not because the weather's great, because the weather's horrible. But Alaska changes dramatically when the salmon come home. The last time I took a notice, it was 100 million salmon came home to Alaska. Think about that. 100 million salmon. And as all these salmon come to the mouth of rivers, guess where the predators go? You find the food, you'll find the wildlife. It is an incredible experience to watch all these thousands and thousands of salmon as you walk among them along some rivers. It really is. So peak season, the funny thing about
If you said the weather's horrible, what can we constitute?
it's going to rain.
Rain, okay.
Yeah, it's going to rain. Alaska's a funky little state because the further north you go, the hotter it actually becomes. Now that's a little counterintuitive. People go, yeah. As you come up the inside passage out of Canada, that is an actual rainforest. Guess what it's going to do? Rain. And we measure rain in Ketchikan in feet, not in inches. And we average about 12 feet of rain a year. And if you ever cruise with me, I can guarantee you it's going to be raining hard. I've been there 59 times. Alaska. It's an incredible experience, all right? And so as you move further north into Alaska, you get out of the rainforest, you get into 24 hours of daylight. 24 hours of daylight means 24 hours of heat. Fairbanks will be as hot as Central Florida in the month of July and August. As you come down out of this cruise, and you come down to Princess, your first day is going to be in Hubbard Glacier, which is one of the largest glaciers in Alaska. Your next day is going to be in Glacier Bay. And if you notice on that map, it's very, very important. See, all cruise lines know you want to see a glacier. But not all glaciers are created equal. Class, if you turn your textbooks, please, to page...
Which book are you in?
I'm in the Alaska book. All right, so the map we're talking about is on page 27. Yes, ma'am. No, oh, you're going to know here.
Does anybody need the lesson book?
You take this.
There's an extra one up there.
Okay, yeah, we're talking different ones. So 2020. Yeah, would you grab me 2020? Yeah, it's this one.
There we go.
Okay, bless your heart. I'm sorry, I didn't know. There we go. We need another one.
And here's another one.
Whale.
So some of you had 19 and some of you had 20. Okay, so the map that you see, the map that you now see that you thought for sure I've been drinking already is on page 27. Remember, she's 2,400 miles long by 1,400 miles wide. Okay, we're talking about the itinerary on the cruise. You're going to come down out of the anchorage area, which is Whittier for us. Your first day, you're in Hubbard. Second day, you're in Glacier Bay. Now, it's very important that you know the difference between glaciers. We know, we the industry know, everybody wants to see a glacier. See, basically, people tell us that they want to see three things when they go to Alaska. Most people want to see glaciers. Most people want to see wildlife. And some people want to see this big rock that sits up there in the middle of nowhere. Those are the three things that people tell us that they want to see. It's very important that you understand the seasons to see what you want to see. As you come down out of Alaska, and you come into Glacier Bay, they only allow 2 ships a day in Glacier Bay. There's almost 40 ships in Alaska, but only 2 ships a day are allowed in Glacier Bay. Why? Because that's where mom brings her babies. Everything that floats, flies, or swims eats in Glacier Bay. To give you an idea what it's like, turn to page 15, please. This kind of gives you an idea of what a glacier experience is like. And this is why it's so different. These are tidewater glaciers, so they kind of move at their own speed. Right? We were talking a minute ago about seasons. So springtime is dry, best chance to see the mountain. You kind of lose it on the wildlife side. Peak season, late June to late August. Weather's going to rain. Weather's going to be hot on the land. You'll probably never see the mountain because of the fog up there. But Alaska changes dynamically when the salmon come in, all the predators come down. And in the last seasons, the end of August, early September, that's when I like to go now. Salmon are still there, bears are still down, eagles are still out. Everything is at your fingertips in front of you. Okay? The glacier experience is what's most important. When you get into Hubbard Glacier and some of these other areas, it's very foggy, it's hard to see. Think of your hand as Glacier Bay. The bay itself is 65 miles across. Everything that floats, flies, or swims in Alaska eats in this bay. This is where they come to eat. They come to the back of the bay, and there's the first glacier, 500 feet tall. Come out of that finger into the second finger, there's another one, 500 feet tall. And then you sail by the third as you come back out of that 65-mile bay. The government only allows 2 ships a day in Glacier Bay. That's all. The Princess has Glacier Bay permits on all of our north and southbound ships. And that's why the perfect Alaska vacation needs to be scheduled with a professional like a girl so you can know where to go, know where the animals are, know what you can experience. As you come down to see a little bit, you come down Skagway, the gold rush capital of the world. One of the most exciting things, one of the funniest things to do there is a White Pass Railroad, narrow gauge railroad up the mountainside. It's beautiful. I decided to just talk today because all this information I'm showing you is actually in the brochure. So I wanted you to have it. Juneau, one question I'm asked frequently is how can I know for sure I'm going to find wildlife? Juneau is the state capital of Alaska. A lot of people think Anchorage is, but it's actually Juneau. There is a place outside of Juneau called Auk Bay, and that's spelled A-U-K-E, Auk Bay. Do you take notes when you go home tonight, Google Auk Bay, Alaska. It is an incredible place. As you fly over Alaska and you look down into the waters, which there's a lot of fjords created by receding glaciers thousands of years ago, you look at these waters and the waters are deep blue like my shirt. They're absolutely gorgeous. When you fly over Auk Bay in the month of August, the bay is actually green. In fact, it's about this color. The question would be, why is it green? Because one of the world's largest food blooms comes to Alaska in the month of August. All this food comes to Auk Bay, which brings all this wildlife to Auk Bay. Everything up to and including the orcas. So whales, they guarantee you whales. Whales are secondary concern. You'll see whales all day long. Hopefully you have the opportunity to see orcas in their natural habitat as they hunt. It's an incredible sight. And that's one reason why I love the end of August, because it gives you an incredible amount of wildlife. Settle down a little bit. Kids are back in school. It's quiet up in Alaska. It's just a really nice time to be here. All right? So, again, your 3 seasons. Spring, mid-May, mid-June, dry. Good chance to see the mountain because it's dry. But your trade-off is finding the wildlife out by the sea. Whales are going to be there. Don't worry about whales. Whales will be there. But other wildlife may be difficult because the salmon haven't come in. Peak season, mid-June to mid-August. Weather's going to rain, probably. So what do? Take your rain gear. If you're a golfer, take your rain gear. If you're a biker, take the rain gear. None of the above, go buy rain gear for $70. Go enjoy yourself. I've walked through forest with pouring down rain to see a 400-pound black bear as she cuddles her cubs. You know, if there's no place in the world can you walk out of a door 4 days in a row and see something entirely different. And everything we think about, everything that we've seen, heard, or experienced, you can find in Alaska. And then the last season is late August to early September, mid-September. Weather moderates, kids are gone, good time to be up there. But most of the salmon have moved inland after the first week of salmon. So as those salmon move inland, guess where the predators go? Inland. It becomes harder to find them. Again, whales will be out here. Whales are there from April to October, so not worry about whales. But the other wildlife that so many of us go to see, basically there for the summertime. That's why it's important to talk to a professional when you plan the ultimate Alaska vacation. Because without all this, without knowing this, and you say, God, I really want to see orchids, or I really want to have the opportunity to see salmon. I want to go salmon fishing. Well, okay. And let's make sure we go during the appropriate season. Okay? So, on the round trips, we do round trips. We do round trips out of Vancouver. We do round trips out of Seattle. We're actually doing round trips out of Vancouver with Cunard, which I also rep on Cunard side. Neat 10-day itinerary, which you can couple with a Canadian Rockies cruise tour. Right? But to see Alaska, you really want to go one way between Anchorage and Vancouver or Vancouver to Anchorage. Now when you look on that map, you're going to see 5 little stars, or excuse me, probably 4 little stars, because the word Fairbanks is up there. We have what's called the Fairbanks Princess Lodge. It is set aside for those who take what's called our connoisseur cruise tour, and that is an escorted cruise tour. So Fairbanks is a little hard to get. Remember, more people live in Seminole County than the entire state of Alaska. There are more hotel rooms on Daytona Beach than the entire state of Alaska. So do you understand the challenge of the infrastructure now of putting all these pieces of puzzles together to plan the perfect Alaska vacation? Now we own 5 lodges. We own Fairbanks, the Princess Lodges. One Fairbanks. You have 2 at the park. If you look at the map there, you're going to see the Denali Princess Lodge, which sits up here. You're going to see the McKinley Princess Lodge that sits down here. What's the difference? This has a straight shot at the mountain. This is blocked by the mountain range. But this is the entrance to the national park. This is where your tours go back in. There's a 5-hour tour. There's an 8-hour tour. And you can send your in-laws on the 12-hour tour. Because it's on a school bus without facilities. They have what they call strategic stops. Bless you. However, when you were like one time, we were coming out of the park, and we're coming out, and everybody's had a great time. We saw bear, and we saw a lot of things. We were on the 5-hour. We saw just about everything we wanted to see. And we come out of the park. We weren't able to stop at our last convenience stop because there was a mama bear and two cubs there. So we had to stay in the bus to take pictures. And by the way, the only vehicles that they allow back in the park are school buses that run on natural gas. So you're in a school bus for 5 to 8 hours or 12. Get my drift? All right, so we're looking forward to getting out of the park. We weren't able to make the last comfort stop. So we can see the building. The road goes like this and comes down. There's the building. There's the restroom. Great. We can't wait. Suddenly the bus stops. What the heck's going on? And the driver says, I'm sorry, I can't move. And you see 30 people whose heads all come down like this into the center going, what's going on? Does he see something? What does he see? There's a bird in the middle of the road. He goes, that's a state bird. I'm not allowed to disturb it. So we all sit there and we look at each other and go, you're kidding me? He goes, no, I'm serious. I'm not allowed to disturb that bird. We have to wait till that bird leaves before we can move. If you only knew the hatred 30 people had for that flock of feathers, you'd get an idea, because we missed the last comfort stop, right? So it just, you ever notice that when you need to go and you can't go and something's teasing you, now you really gotta go, right? So we got 30 angry people all wishing very bad things on this little bird who sits down. About 5 minutes later, you know, with a lot of telepathy going here, he finally gets up and flies away. We proceed to go on like this. So, in Denali, we have the largest lodge in the state of Alaska. It includes tours back in the park. At the McKinley Princess Lodge, you can walk out back and look up to 20,310 feet. No place like it in the world. Absolutely beautiful. We own 2 other lodges that are kind of out in the middle of nowhere. One is called Copper River. Copper River sits over here. Very unique way to get there through motor coach and everything, and then a motor lodge to come back to the ship. But then there's also some place that I call my favorite part of Alaska. It's Kenai. This is where Debbie's group is going next year. There's no place like Kenai. Kenai is the southeast and southeast Alaska. It's where people go to fish, where people go to hunt, it's where people go to watch the wildlife. It's an incredible place. It only has 80 rooms in the entire lodge. When you go home tonight and you're interested in Alaska, if you type in Kenai Fjords or Kenai Lodges, you'll get an idea how special this area is. Right? So, in the little bit of time that I had, I just want to kind of introduce Alaska to you. It's an incredible place. It's a place where you need to sit down with a professional and talk about the ultimate Alaska vacation. That's what the girls can help with. Debbie's escorting a tour at the end of August, which will include Glaciers. It will include Kenai. It will include some very unique opportunities in Alaska. We're also trying to work out some special deals right now. We're working with the White Pass Railroad, trying to get a special tour on the train. We're trying to work out a salmon bake in Juneau that will be included when we do the whale and wildlife cruise. So we're working all these things out now. The vendors that are up in Alaska are fixing to close down for the summer. And so we hopefully will have more things in about the next 2.5 weeks for next summer. So they've been working, you know, Alaska explodes during the summertime. Skagway, there'll be 3,000 people in Skagway in the month of July, and there'll be 400 in the month of January. So it's just a whole different world up there. It really is. So, any questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, you talk about the weather. When you get to the end of August into September, is it still raining a lot, or is it
The weather,
down?
and that's why I like it in the August, because the weather settles quite a bit. The weather's not so much coming over that North Cape, that North Slope, and it's not near as bad as far as rain goes. It starts to moderate into fall. I love the end of August, early September. The weather is almost as clear as May, but the salmon are finishing their run, so the wildlife, the predators are still right here, which gives me the best of both worlds for both photography and wildlife.
We went on a cruise up there in middle or end of May, about 5 or 6 years ago, and didn't see a lot of predators.
Right, that's why. You know, more
The weather
people,
was nice.
exactly. More people, you ready for this one? More people go to Alaska from 100 miles of where you're sitting than any place else in the country. We're it, folks. We are number one. In Lake County, I'll have 3,000 people out of the villages along the month of May, not even including the rest of the retirement communities. We massively moved to Alaska here in Central Florida, and thank you all very much, by the way. We're it. We're number one. So that's why we see a lot of people come down into Florida from Minnesota, these other places, to try and pick your pocket. And they offer these tours that'll say, oh, you can take a cruise, but then you're going to get off in Skagway, and you're going to spend 8 days on a motor coach. Won't that be fun? Don't you dare do that to yourself, right? You miss Glacier Bay, Prince William Sound, College Fjord, Whales, Wildlife. It takes a professional to help you plan the perfect Alaska vacation. Remember your seasonality. Perfect example we're talking about. May's a beautiful time to be out there. A little harder to find the wildlife because the food hasn't come in yet. Now, the food is there, but it's out in the harbors. So the food out in the harbors, the very small bottles to come down. The eagles are flying around, but they're not consolidated. They're not particular, right? But you can go fishing in the May and June and catch your salmon. In fact, I caught 2 king salmon, one was 42 pounds, one was 43 pounds, fishing from the float of a float.
That would be cool.
The guy asked me how I wanted them, and I didn't know what to say. He says, how about if I smoke them? I said, I smoke one, fillet the other. He shipped them home for me. They arrived in dry ice the day after I got home. Now, I could have bought all of Publix supermarket for what it cost for those two. My salmon that I caught on my trip to Alaska. And that's why it's important. Let us create the perfect Alaska vacation for you. It takes a little bit of time, it takes a little bit of planning, the girls can help you. Or if you want to have a simplicity, go with Debbie up to Alaska, because she's going to include one of the most incredible places that I go to every year, and that's Kenai. Kenai is absolutely phenomenal. We're talking about wildlife down in Kenai with bears and well, we have a Kenai lodge there. It only has 80 rooms, but I've been sitting on that lodge, look up and see a moose walk from me to you here in front of me. I've seen bears walk there, even more terrifying. Bears walk by me. Doll sheep. It sits on a plateau, 270 degree of mountain in front of me, full of doll sheep and wildlife. It takes planning. It takes understanding. And the girls can help you plan the perfect Alaska vacation.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Wonderful. Thank you all very much for coming and listening to the how-tos of planning these amazing trips. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to stay after, or if you are in love with that Alaska itinerary that Debbie is going on, or if you want to start planning your own Alaska itinerary, or if you want to go to the Arctic or Antarctica, or see the coastal Norway cruise and see the Aurora Borealis, or go to Africa, we will be happy to help you with that. And just let us know. We can set up an appointment for you to come in to the office, or we can make a phone appointment with you. Just let us know what you're interested in and the dates, and we'll be happy to help you with that. And we will email out some sales and promotions and everything that are associated for the next probably week or so that you can get the best deal possible.